Children were especially vulnerable to Nazi persecution in the Holocaust. As many as 1.5 million children were killed by Nazi Germany and its collaborators. Thousands of children survived. However, these youngsters faced constant fear, dilemmas, and danger. This is their story. At the end of World War I, Germany suffered many losses and had a weak economy. The Nazis rose to power blaming the Jews for their problems and promised they would make Germany great again. The Nazis believed that especially the Jews, but also gypsies, gays, lesbians, and the disabled were inferior and didn't deserve to live, and they were hoping to develop the perfect race. The Nazis developed many laws to discriminate against Jews and deprive them of their rights. Every Jewish person had to add J on their passport. Jewish men had to add the name Israel, and Jewish women had to add the name Sarah. Eventually, in Germany and Nazi-occupied regions, Jews were forced to show on what they wore that they were Jewish, such as wearing a Star of David patch or an armband.
In 1933, Hitler came to power, and he instituted many anti-Semitic laws, and Ruth lived through them. For instance, Jews could only walk in certain places in the city in which they lived. They could only go to the grocery store between 4 and 5 when there was very little food left. If they were on a sidewalk and a German was coming toward them, they would have to step off of the sidewalk. The Jewish schools were closed.
Hitler and the Nazis boycotted Jewish shops, and by 1938, Jews were forbidden to have their own business. On November 9, 1938, the Nazis organized attacks on Jews in Germany, Sudetenland, and Austria. This was known as Kristallnacht, German for Night of the Broken Glass. 96 Jews died and hundreds were wounded. More than 1,000 synagogues and 7,500 Jewish businesses were destroyed. By 1939, Jewish people were evicted from their homes without reason or notice. The Nazis then started to transfer them to a place called ghettos in order to isolate Jewish people from the rest of society. Ghettos were very crowded and unsanitary. In the Warsaw Ghetto in Poland, the Nazis decided that the people in the ghetto could survive with 300 calories per day, compared to 2,310 for the Germans. Starvation, shortages of food, fuel, clothes, and severe winter weather led to outbreaks of many diseases. In total, the Nazis established more than 400 ghettos. The ghettos were only temporary. The Germans began to destroy ghettos by deporting the Jewish occupants to concentration camps. Concentration camps provided labor for the German war effort. Living conditions were very unpleasant and unhealthy. They were really crowded and dirty and often had no water, and there was never enough food. The workers worked long hours, at least 6 days a week, in difficult, dirty, or dangerous conditions. The Nazi policy was to work people to death, so victims only survived as long as they were fit. For example, Ruth Cohn's brother, who she was told died in a hospital.
Ruth got a folder from David, and in it was exit visa papers for her family who left in 1941. Ruth was 12 years old when she left. She had never seen these papers. They had a swastika stamp and everything, very official. And so that was very interesting to her because it was a document that she had of this event in her family's life. There was another paper, and it was about Ernst, her brother. Ernst did not die of a heart attack in the hospital. Ernst was taken by the Nazis, deported to a concentration camp, and murdered in the gas chamber. This was because he had a condition. There was a euthanasia program instituted by the Germans whereby they killed anybody, child, baby, adult, who had anything, even a limp, any kind of illness, a wart, whatever. They wanted those people dead, and because Ernst had epilepsy, he was considered in that group and he was murdered.
Despite the tragedy, thousands of children did survive through escaping, hiding, and outsmarting the ghettos. From 1933 to 1941, many Jewish people were able to flee Nazi-occupied regions. Approximately 32 countries could take Jewish refugees, but in small numbers. The visas were limited due to anti-Semitism from the public. During this time, in 1938, after Kristallnacht, the people of Great Britain got angry and wanted to help. They got permission from their government to allow more refugees, especially children. Everyone thought this would be temporary. Roughly 10,000 children came over on trains. This was known as kindertransport. We weren't aware, and I think maybe many parents weren't quite aware, that this was the last parting ever, says survivor Frank Meisler, who built this sculpture in memory of the kindertransport kids. Other children survived through hiding. These children hid in many places, such as in barns with animals, holes in the ground, caves, and even convents with nuns. Many parents sent their children to non-Jewish families for safekeeping. They would also hide in secret annexes like Anne Frank, who sadly did not make it. All these children survived because of the kindness of others. Others survived in the ghettos, which were secretly full of life. Illegal activities such as smuggling food or weapons, holding cultural events, or children attending illegal school, which put a lot at risk. One thing the illegal schools contained was choirs. Even the children that didn't attend the school had to be resourceful in order to stay alive. Small children in the Warsaw Ghetto survived by smuggling food for their families and friends by crawling through narrow openings in the ghetto wall. Towards the end of World War II, Allied forces started freeing the prisoners and the children. They were astonished to what they saw. The impacts on these people and to the world have been incredible. The short-term impacts were returning home, children trying to find family, displaced persons camps, and the state of Israel. Returning home wasn't easy for many, especially children. Some had no home to return to. Others had a home but were afraid to go back because many people still hated them. Finding family was hard because many children had become orphans. A lot of children had family who all had died, so they went to displaced persons camps, along with survivors from concentration camps. Many surviving Jewish children fled to the Yishuv, which was the Jewish settlement in Palestine. Eventually, many traveled to the State of Israel after its establishment in 1948 for Jewish people. The long-term impacts on the children were missing their family, trying to understand why this happened, survivor guilt, and still finding family.
Myself for to this day, really, when there is a dog on the door, I know he is still dead, but my thing says it is him. I know. Do you understand what I mean? It's really, my fantasy, because he was such a terrific brother to me. He was 6 years older, and he took always care of me.
Many survivors don't understand and always ask themselves how Hitler got the power and courage to destroy so many people. A lot of survivors feel guilty because they got to live while many didn't. And even generations later, survivors are still finding more family. There are museums all around the world about the Holocaust. And in a few more years, all of these survivors will be gone because they're not young. And that's why we have to keep this story alive, so we remember, so that this doesn't happen again.